Alright, in this video we are going to look a little bit more at the song lyrics that I did. Posted a tutorial about a week ago, and I'm going to show you how to scroll through the lyrics as I'm doing right here, and we can reset it back right to the center, and we can also scroll down as well. And before I dive into that, what I do want to talk about a little bit with you is some things you can do to improve your code or your function to get more songs. And one thing I did not mention in my tutorial, I'm going to come back to a song like, okay, let's come to this one right here. Limp Bizkit, Rollin' Air Raid Vehicle. Notice we have some parentheses right here. So if I go to load these lyrics, it just says loading. And the reason why is because the code I did back in my tutorial is we search for space. Let me show you another time we can run into an issue, and I'm going to show you how to fix some of these. We're not going to be able to get all of them. And as I'm cycling back through these songs here, you may notice that it's loading up various artist titles and whatnot. That's because I've got a tasker thing doing all this. I'll save that for a whole other tutorial because that's long as well. Let me see, where's it at? Red Hot Chili Peppers, Can't Stop. It's somewhere in here. All of these it's going to pull, like Disturbed, Down with the Sickness. Let's see. Yeah, see, I mean, yep, that one's working because all it has is the little spaces in between the words. But if I back up, okay, that one's going to load. Okay, here we go. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Can't Stop. So if I go to load those lyrics, it's just going to say load. Well, here's the fix. The reason why some of these aren't going to load is because of the apostrophes, the parentheses, and things like that. Well, what I did in the tutorial, and I should have done it different, I just didn't even think about it, to be quite honest with you, was this is the exact function that we used to get the song title and the artist. Well, instead of us searching for just a space, we want to search for anything that's non-alphanumeric, such as punctuation marks. This includes parentheses, spaces, anything that's non-alphanumeric. We want to use the backslash with a capital W. So I'm going to put that in there. It didn't change anything about this because Red Hot Chili Peppers, the only thing it had was spaces. Well, that still got rid of the spaces. So that's cool. Now watch what happens to this apostrophe here when I come and do my regex on the title of the song. So I want to search for that W, and notice, look, Can't Stop, we got rid of the apostrophe. Now if I check this, I save it, I go back to the home screen, I guarantee this song's going to load now. Boom, there we go. So that's all the lyrics to Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers. One of my favorite bands of all time, no doubt. Now, other things that you're going to run into, you're not going to be able to get every single song. If you have a song title that says featuring somebody, or if you have, the single version. Here we go. Breaking Benjamin, The Diary of Jane, single version. I guarantee you azlyrics.com does not have a hyphen with single version. Probably all they have is The Diary of Jane. Now, there would be so many different variations of this that I hope you're okay with getting, maybe 80% of the songs that you have get in the lyrics form, but this one's not going to load. We'd have to go do some TC reg and all that stuff, but you don't want to do just TC reg where you search for single version because you might have a song that has the word single or the word version in the song title. So I'm just not even going to bother with that. I hope that makes sense. Now, back to the rest of the tutorial is, how do we scroll through these lyrics? Let me get one that does have some lyrics to it. So we'll go to, let's get one where they're going to load. Okay. So let me pause that. Let's see if these load up. Boom. Now we can scroll up, we can scroll down, and then at any point in time, we can also recenter using that little refresh button. And you may notice that we had a number in here too. That was just there for me to kind of test things out. Well, how am I doing this? I'm going to go back to the component that I have called lyrics. I'm going to share this on KLWP Toots, by the way. Now, you want to go to the text. Let me come to my lyrics here as well. So here's our lyrics. I'm going to come to the text. All right. Inside of this text, I want to adjust its position. And the position is, we want to look at the various paddings that we have here. Okay. So if I take these away for right now, well, there's the code for it, but I'm going to talk about that right here in a second. I'm going to take away the top padding. I'm going to take away the bottom padding as well. So what this will allow us to do is just basically pad this thing, and it looks like we can kind of scroll through it. And then I can go this way as well. But then we have to do the bottom padding to make it go in the other direction. So here's what I have inside of this component and its globals. I've created some, let me go ahead and cut these back on. All right, good, got those. And let me go, I'm gonna come back and show you the codes, but let's go create some globals real quick for this. And the globals are going to be up, down, and then a plus minus is what I called it. And the up, down is basically just a text global with, you can put 0 in there for right now. It doesn't really matter what you put inside of there, 0 or whatever, because we're gonna be adding and subtracting numbers. And then plus minus, put whatever. Now, plus minus is important. How much do you want to skip between each scroll? If you may have noticed a moment ago, let me come back to here. Let me put 500 right here. Let me explain to you what this 500 is going to do in plus minus. Now, hopefully you can see that 0 right there. When I press up now, it's going to go in increments of 500. So it's going to do some big jumps. Whereas if I do a plus minus of say 50 or 20, well, let's do 20. You're not even going to hardly see it change. So plus minus of 20, you're going to notice this number's going to go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 because it's going in increments of 20. Now if I reset it back here in the middle, that's why I like doing plus minus. Let's keep it at 500. That was a pretty good way to skip through many lines at one time. So now I'm back at 500, that's the plus minus. All right, very good. Now we still need an up down as well. So up down right now is 0. Up down's just going to be whatever number we see right there, negative 1,000. If I click on that, notice it does say negative 1,000. Well, how am I getting all this stuff to work? So let me go back to the text. Let me go to the position of that text. And let's go to top padding and let's look at the bottom padding code. So the top padding code is this. If GV up down is positive, then I want to use whatever GV up down is. Otherwise, that means if GV up down is not positive, I want to set it back to 0. All right, so that's our code there. And basically what this is going to do, anytime we have a positive number, it's going to apply that much top padding to it. Essentially, this is going to move it down. It's going to, the top padding is going to make it simulate like it's going down, but some of y'all might do inverted stuff when you play video games. Some of y'all might push down on the joystick to make it go up. But if you follow this technique here, this is when I press up, I'm going to see more of the upper lyrics, whereas if I press down on this, I'm going to essentially go down through my lyrics. Well, the way we go down is we look at the bottom padding code as well. So if GV up down is negative, if GV up down is less than 0, then we want to take negative 1 times GV up down. This is going to turn, it's going to take negative 1 times that negative number, because GV up down is going to be less than 0. So it's going to take negative 1 times that number, and it's going to apply that much bottom padding to it. So essentially, regardless, GV up down, the way we're using it here is going to be a positive number, whether we are taking negative 1 times GV up down, or if we go back to the top padding, it's just going to use GV up down, period, as long as GV up down is a positive number. So with all that said, if we had those applied to the top and the bottom padding, this is going to help set up the ability for us to go up and down. Well, how do we change GV up down? How do we make GV up down become a positive number or a negative number? Well, that's what these buttons have to do with it. And it's very important, by the way. I did mention this, but in this text, this is where I have the padding set up. I do not have the padding set up inside of the actual component itself. I just have the whole component centered. Now, if I go back into lyrics, I'm going to come to buttons. And then basically, I got some icon fonts, but I had this up arrow. What happens, whatever icon font you want to set up, what happens when we touch this arrow here? We want to toggle global switch, and we want to do the switch up down. So here is the code. We want to take GV up down, whatever value it is, and we want to add that plus minus. Recall a minute ago, that plus minus, I was changing it from like 400 to 500 to 20. And this has the ability, by incorporating the plus minus with GV up down, we can add a number to it. We can increment it by 20, by 50, by 500, or whatever you want to do. And that's going to add to GV up down. So this is going to increase it by increments of 500 since GV, whoops, let me come back to here. Since GV plus minus is 500, every time I press this button, it's going to continue to add 500 to it every single time. Yes, you can get really carried away there, but I have a fix for that too. Just hang tight. Now, if we come down to the bottom button, if I go to touch, and I go to toggle global switch, it's GV up down as well. But basically when I touch this button, I want to take GV up down and I want to subtract whatever increment I picked in GV plus minus. And GV plus minus, I have it set to 500, so it's going to take whatever GV up down is and it's going to subtract 500 from it, or whatever number you have applied to this text global. Now, if you get carried away, for example, I'm getting carried away right now. Notice the lyrics are way on up here. Well, I had this other button, this little refresh cycle whatever thing. If I click on that, it sets it back to 0. So the only thing I have going on there is this little overlap group that I have the actual number. That number there is just showing what GV up down is to kind of give you an idea of where you are as you scroll through. Notice this number is at 2500. But the real big piece here is this. Whatever you want to set to reset, I'm going to go to its touch. And obviously I don't have it set there. I bet I have it set on the actual font icon itself. It's a good idea to actually apply it to this entire overlap group, but it'll be all right. So if I go to touch, if I touch this font icon, toggle global switch, GV up, down, and there's no code here. You automatically want to set it to 0 whenever you touch that button. That's what's going to reset it back in the center. All right, and just like that, if you put these buttons wherever you want them, what's something very important here is this for this entire component. Hopefully you do notice that I have the text and the buttons in their own little two separate pieces. And it's important to do that because we want the text and the text only to move. Notice the text is moving, but the buttons are not moving. That's why I have those things separated, because the text, its position is what's based on what the GV up down stuff. Whereas as long as I just take these buttons here and I position these at the center right, notice they're at the center right of my screen, and I don't have any padding applied to that. That way those stay stationary inside of the component, whereas when I click these buttons here, the lyrics are going to be the only thing that moves. So yeah, let me save this, go back to the home screen, and there you have it. So we're getting the lyrics from video 1. I gave the tip back at the very beginning on getting rid of apostrophes and parentheses. And now we have actually seen how we can scroll through the lyrics using GV up, down, and GV plus minus. And that's it for this video. I hope it helped.